Welcome back to the Ultimate Homeschool Community. I'm your host, Tiffany Hernandez. Today we have Kim Yarson with Learn to Read with Music. We're so glad to have her on. Welcome, Kim. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
I'm
I
doing
am
awesome.
so glad we are finally getting to connect on Zoom and our podcast time because this has been a long time coming. We've had a lot of conversations just with business and education and all the different things. And I'd love for our listeners to know a little bit more about you before we get started. Can you share a little bit about yourself, your music background? Like, where are you at?
Sure. I am a lifelong songwriter, and I say that because I've been writing songs for 30 years. My most important job has been mommy of two beautiful sons. One is turning 23 soon, and the other is going to be 21 in August. So I've done the hard job of raising them. They're doing well. Perfect, no, but well, and that's good enough, right? Sometimes we got to say they're going to figure it out and it's all going to work out because you don't know in the 20s how they're going to do. So they're my biggest accomplishment. They're very good souls, and it's beautiful to see that. Secondarily, I quit my day job in 2021 or so, or 22, I forget, somewhere around COVID, and decided to fully embrace my gifts for entertaining children and edutaining children, which
Yes.
is a combination of education and entertaining, which some people don't know the term. And at the same time, I was finalizing and finishing up my Berklee College of Music degree, which I'm very proud of. It took me 7 years as a mom who was still trying to figure everything out to do that. And my final project was to create a learning management system for, at the time, the title was ABC's Singing the Sounds Courses. And it's since morphed into just a better title for it, for what I'm trying to do, which is Learn to Read with Music. So I've embarked on this journey not knowing what it would entail, and it entails a lot. But I'm thrilled that I've been chosen, I guess, by the powers that be, that this is my job now from now until whenever I go up to the heavens again. So this is what happened. And sometimes you just have to answer the call, because he is using the gifts that I have, which is high creativity, love of children, educating children, and music. And combining them together it's just been, it's amazing. It's
That's
amazing. I'm
awesome.
humbled every day.
Yes. I'm First and foremost, yes, we love our children, right? So congrats on that. You know, when they fly off and you pray that they don't fall, but they're going to, you catch them when they do. But getting a degree while being a mom is probably it's not a common thing because it's so hard to try to do that and raise two kids. So it's great. And then on top of that, the creativity, I know sometimes we can get trapped in that, oh, well, is that your real job? It's like, yes, that is a real job. Like we are giving life to living. So in the any way that we can do that and bring that joy, that happiness into learning is what makes it fun. So if you can share your story of like really what led you into creating Learn to Read with Music, because I think a lot of times, we're like, okay, well, why does it matter? And so I'd love for you to share,
Mm.
what you help struggling readers to do.
Absolutely. So I didn't really know this was my mission until it became my mission. That's number one. Sometimes you're led down a path you're just not aware of why until you begin doing it. And then you're like, aha, I see. So my mission now is to really help children who struggle with the same old way of being taught how to learn to read. Like, let's say someone is better at like listening to a song and they'll retain it easier. However, what I realized in my journey of finding good material when I was trying to figure out what my final project was to do at Berkeley was there is not a whole lot of songs for phonics for one concept at a time out there that are really well done musically. And I know that there are programs out there. I'm not going to name them or shame them because they did at that time. They did a good job, and it helped a lot of people. I just took that same idea and visualized it in a way that I, as a musician and producer and songwriter, see it being done, which was great music, rhyme repetition, followed by the same exact song with the muted practice track so that the kids and the parents know that they're retaining the information. The sounds are muted. So that was a little addition that I added. Plus, I'm a very entertaining human being, thanks be to God. So my personality can be very engaging. So we do like short videos, and that really helped. So I think the system really is logical. It's first the song, they listen, they learn one sound at a time, which is what's unique about my program. And then they go and listen to that muted practice track. And music preps the brain. So this basically, again, slowly over time has become a beautiful idea. And I had released ABC Singing the Sound, my first album, before I ever thought about doing courses. And it went really well. So it was like clues. You get little clues that are dropped, and you take those clues and you run with them. And as a creative, you know how it just stacks. As a
Right.
creative soul, the ideas stack. How can I serve better? What else can I do to make this better? How can I? So it ended up being my long-term goal is to have one phonics concept at a time, one song for every concept, which is an undertaking,
Yeah,
a very
that
large
is a lot.
undertaking.
I don't think people
Right.
realize
And I'm
how
going to give you
many.
an example. Yeah, it's over 400 songs right now. And now I'm doing the Shun series. TIONSIONCIAN. Think about that. One song per concept explaining when to use it, how it changes a word, the grammar, in a song that's catchy, repetitious, and shows the word and how it goes from this to that. It's a lot,
That is a
but
lot.
I
That's a
know it's going to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so and that gets us into our next point, which is like, why does music works so well with learning? Because we know that music makes a difference in learning. We know that there is a ton of studies with music in the brain and how the brain is able to have that neuroplasticity because of just the way that it hits those synapses and the receptors and everything that's going on to help it to expand and grow and solidify those concepts that we're learning. I know like there's been a lot of studies done on classical music with Beethoven and Mozart and things. And so obviously we're not doing that, but it's the same idea of the fact that this music is helping to not only get those concepts in, but it's also helping it to stick because we think of music and we can remember a song from the 80s that we haven't
Mm-hmm.
sung in how long, but we can still sing the lyrics and we know the tune and we're
Yes.
beat bopping and we can do it. So if you could share just a little bit of that, like, children who struggle with the traditional methods, how is learning with music really helping them?
This is nothing new. This has been going on forever. We have Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers. They've always been using music to help children to learn. I'm not reinventing anything here.
Right.
I'm just enhancing a program that hasn't been done with that. But scientifically, the more studies that are being done, the more they're realizing that it does help map the brain and prep it for learning, right? So here's a fact that I learned through my research. When you sit and do a worksheet, one brain part lights up. That's it. When you do music, they've literally done scans on the brain while there's music happening. It lights up 4 areas of the brain and more. Especially if it's your favorite song, then you're really like, it's really lighting up. So music works for reading because it engages the brain that work in a way that worksheets and other activities do not. Listening to a teacher might not without the music. Some kids can listen and retain information from just a teacher talking. But I'll tell you what, they'll have a lot more fun listening to a great song that is teaching them Singing makes you emotionally happier. So not only will they be learning, but they're going to be happier. I kind of feel like that's important. You know what
Yes.
I mean?
Well,
And then sitting still doesn't help children. Sitting
no.
still doesn't help children, especially the younger children. So it really helps with the motor cortex and movement, right? When you put those two together, you have the repetition is going to make reading stick.
Yeah,
Going to help those
right.
kids with dyslexia. It's going to help kids with ADHD, anxiety, because music lowers the pressure and helps the brain retain information. That's
Especially
it.
with information that's maybe not as enjoyable, that's a little bit more technical and quite challenging for maybe somebody who has a hard time sitting still to do because their brain's all
Yes.
over the place and they've got a retention span of very, very short spurts. Um, I'm glad you're mentioning about the wiggling and movement. If we exercise before or around when we're learning, we actually retain the information even more than if we were just, like you said, sitting. And that's why it's so important, especially for littles, to be getting up and moving. And the typical schoolroom doesn't really support that. They do a little bit, but not as
Mm-hmm.
much, right? And I'm glad you also mentioned the worksheets because we really try not to do worksheets as much as possible. There's a lot of programs that we do or have seen that are all about the worksheets. If it's not a project-based model, they really don't get as much engaged because it's 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 not as enjoyable. So, um, when when you're talking about this program being different from all of that, what really sets it apart? Because we know there's other programs, like you said. What sets
Mm-hmm.
it apart from other reading programs that have maybe music in it?
Uh, Geez, that's a large question to ask. So, the music I'm writing as a professional musician and someone who's produced music and had songs in film and TV is not hokey. That's number one. So, I've heard a parent tell me I've had reading programs where I could not, the songs were grating on me. And this is coming from somebody else, not me. And she said, your songs did not do that. They were actually fun to listen to. I couldn't get them out of my head, which is good because if the parents can't get them out of their head, the kids are going to be retaining them. Again, I have that muted practice track. Only a musician would think of that because we're sitting here with our digital audio workstation and we're like, "Oh, I can mute that." Right? I can do that. I don't know if all reading people can do that. Not being a musician, right? So it has that muted practice track, which helps with memory retention. And then being like a fun person, I like playing. Playing helps people learn. So I created games along with worksheets for some parents who want the worksheets. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not going to deny that there are people that want a worksheet and there are children who actually like them.
but let
But
them do them, not make everybody else who doesn't.
no. I wanted to try to create something for a little bit of everybody, right? A little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
A little bit of writing, a little bit of drawing, a little bit of singing, and a lot of movement. So I wanted to create something more all encompassing as thinking like a mom. What would
Yes.
I want, right? What would my kids want? So thinking like a mom and someone who really cares about how kids learn, because I've seen my son stressed out trying to learn the conventional way and having relationship issues with my husband, who is a mathematician and he didn't learn. I've seen how that unfolds. It's not pretty. I want
Yes.
parents and children to have a good relationship. And I think music helps that a lot. So it offers flexibility so parents can meet their child where they are. There's no rigid pace. The goal is progress, not perfection. And after every video, I include a growth mindset, which is very important. Fixed mindsets don't want to learn, growth mindsets do. So I'm setting the stage for over 400 growth mindsets that those kids are going to be hearing throughout the series when they start from the beginning all the way to the end. It's very consistent, my program. It has a consistent method.
Which is really important when you're learning a new skill to have it delivered to you in a way that is repetitious In a sense, even
Mhm.
though the content changes from song to song, they're still absorbing it in the same manner, which helps the brain to connect even more, which is great. So, um, I love that, it's got the flexibility of all these different elements that parents can attach themselves to. My daughter loved worksheets. Like we would get those jumbo workbooks from Walmart when she was little.
Exactly.
Loved it. By the time she was we did that for a couple years. By the time she was in like second grade, absolutely hated worksheets. She's like, I burned myself out on worksheets. I am done. I don't want to touch another one. I'm like, great, that's fine.
Yeah.
That season's over. Now we're on to the next thing. So, it definitely has its time and place. It just depends on what the student is actually going to want to do. Because we're all about learning is got to be enjoyable, which I'm glad you mentioned that the parents are also enjoying this because I cannot tell you enough. Having to listen to the same song over and over again, or the same movie over and over again, and the kids are enjoying it, but you're like, uh, my brain hurts, right? Okay. So,
I
that
call it the
that
baby shark syndrome.
yes,
The baby
oh,
shark
yes.
syndrome.
How many times
It's a
have
good
we had
song.
to
Good
listen?
song.
Yes,
Don't get
yes,
me wrong, it's a good song, but woo, gets on your nerves after a while, right?
absolutely. Okay, so that leads us since, we're talking about this going over the same steps over and over again, you've got like a 5-step reading method. Can you explain how that really supports real readers during their progress? Because I know sometimes it's like, okay, but how does this actually work?
Absolutely. So it's always starting with the song. You're starting with the song. That's it. Wherever you are, let's say you enter the program and you just need to work on beginning blends right now because that's where you're at. You start with the song. You press play. You listen to the song. The kid's going to listen. They're, they're either going to sing along right away because it's that catchy, or they're going to have to play it again until they can sing it along. That's step 2. Step 3, they check with the mute to master track, which is the same song, right after the same video, same song, followed by the muted practice track. Okay, so now you, the parent, the educator, whomever, can check the child's retention. Are they singing along? Are they saying it correctly? And this is all happening, by the way, in 1 to 3 minutes, depending upon the phonics concept. That's pretty
Okay.
amazing. And it's one phonics concept at a time. Lots of repetition. And then 4 is play and apply. The play and apply is only after they have orthographically mapped the song to their brain. Why move on otherwise? Right? So that's when they start to do a worksheet or play to reinforce the song that they've learned the concept of. Does that make sense?
Yes,
And then last
absolutely.
is just celebrate. Yeah, last is celebrating their growth. Again, their effort, not accuracy. Every one
Right.
of us parents get so impatient. We all get impatient. Why aren't you learning fast enough, right? Is it me? Am I doing something wrong? But no, 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 no. Just one little small step at a time. Reading takes time.
Yes.
Reading takes time. It's not
Yes.
something you're going to learn overnight.
Okay.
Sometimes they
Yes.
go downhill. They go downhill in their reading only to see them like get back up again. That's
Mm.
normal for the way the brain is mapping reading.
Okay.
So
I'm
that's the
glad that you
5-step method.
mentioned about that. So this is like a very simple process, but I'm glad you mentioned about the parents asking the child why they're not learning fast enough. So we in our family, we have even had like my middle son was getting forced to read at age 4, way
Mhm.
before he was really
Yeah.
ready. And I was not very happy about it because it wasn't me that was doing it.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I've seen how that has impacted the rest of his educational time because he's
mhm,
very reluctant to want to do much of anything. He's also very
mhm,
ADHD, so that didn't help. And did he learn to read? Yes, he did. Could it have been done in a different way? And but he loves to read now. He can read anything. He can read above grade level. is really not a problem. The problem is how it happened and how it got started and those core memories, those foundational memories that are now stuck in the
Mhm.
body from that forcing.
Mhm.
You mentioned phonics to learn to read with phonics. Yes, we want to do that. I don't know your thoughts on like learning the letters and the names versus learning the sounds of the letters first, because we have a lot of that back and forth. Montessori does not teach the name of the letters. They teach the sound of the letters first. And it's really important for the child to understand how it sounds when they look at it versus like, oh, that's the letter A. It's like, no, you say ah. What can you just share a little bit of that? Because I feel like
Yeah,
maybe parents
absolutely.
don't fully understand
So
that.
Well, I'm not a reading specialist, okay? I am a lover of learning and application. How can I make a difference and help? Okay, I'm not going to say I'm a reading specialist. I've worked with reading specialists, I've worked with phonics educators to make this beautiful, and I'm continuously learning myself. That's my disclosure, period. But here's what's important. If you're a Montessori person and you're not ready to show on my little videos to have that letter to sound connection, right? Which is what a video will do with a song. It will give you the letter to sound connection all at the same time. Nothing wrong with it. If you have that problem where you don't want to do that, just listen to the songs on my site instead. I have songs underneath the videos. Just listen to the song, press play. So I
Gotcha.
have something for everybody. Whether or not it works both ways. I can tell you that. It works both ways. Your philosophy is your philosophy. I'm not changing it for anybody. I'm not going to change
Absolutely.
how the science of reading does it versus Montessori. What I'm trying to do is make something that's useful for
Absolutely.
Montessori, for science of reading, for all of these techniques, for well, OG, Orton Gillingham, right?
Mhm.
I'm not claiming any of them. I'm not. I think the science of reading has important facts. So does Orton Gilliam. So does Montessori. So I'm trying to put it all together into one program that really will work, and
Yeah.
only focusing on the music. No, the music. That's what I'm focusing on. My specialty is music. Their specialty is Montessori. Their special, right? So I've learned all I could about phonics, and I continue to learn about phonics. And even teachers I know couldn't help me in some of the phonics, okay?
Oh boy.
my point my point is there are teachers out there who only specialize in kindergarten and first grade. They
Right.
can't do third grade. So I can't count on everybody, right? Because even teachers struggle with it. So I'm trying to simplify it for everyone.
Which is a
It's
great
very
that's
complicated.
I was gonna say that's a big ask, but she's doing it.
It is, but I don't have you listen, I have nothing else to do with the rest of my life. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing this not for me, but for the children.
Right.
The
Who
parents
need
can
it.
come along if they want. The teachers can come along if they want. I really feel like down the road it's going to make sense to a lot of people. I just have to keep doing what I'm doing, which is to share my knowledge and help them see another way of doing it.
Absolutely. Can you
So,
share a real life success story where this approach has worked, in practice for a struggling reader? That might help some
I can.
people see like
Actually one of my favorites. Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of my favorite stories was an accidental meetup with somebody when I was on a trip for my husband. I decided to show up finally at one of my husband's trips that he gets to go on, and I stayed home with the kids. I showed up and I'll work from the hotel room, and I said I'm coming with you this time. So I'm there at the pool by myself doing my stuff or just taking a break from the hotel room. And these two kids are in the pool swimming and they're kind of like attracted to me, which is normal because I have a I love children energy, right? And I'm very like I'm not ignoring them. I'm like, you guys are silly, you know. They're kind of coming to me like a magnet, which is normal. So the mom says to me, "Are my kids bothering you?" And I went, "Absolutely not. I love kids. I do this for a living. I'm a singer. I'm an entertainer." Before you know it, we get to talking, and she says, "I'm a homeschooling mom," and da da da. And I went, "Oh my gosh, I'm actually working on a homeschooling program right now, and I would love for you to try it." And she goes, "Well, my daughter right now is struggling with reading. We've tried this singing one, and Again, I told you about that. And it's not working. I said, look, I'm going to give it to you for free, the whole thing. All I want is for you to just tell me how your daughter does with dyslexia and with my program. And within 2 months, she went from disappointed in herself, upset about reading, not wanting to read, to when are we going to watch Miss Kim's videos again? When she already watched them. Meaning the lesson was done and she's like, can we do Miss Kim videos? So it worked. Now she's reading and continues to use this program into the more complex concepts. That's a win.
That is a win. And a much that makes a parent feel like, "Oh, I've been able to help my child."
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah,
biggest thing is, like, we feel like we're failing them when in reality, we just might not have, seen a a tool to help them, you know? So that's great. I really
exactly.
love that. I mean, especially when you've got dyslexia, it makes
Yep.
everything else more challenging.
It
So when
does.
you've got and to do that in such a quick amount of time, I mean, 2 months is really, really fast, especially when they're starting from, ground zero. So I know you had mentioned you're doing several iterations of all these different phonics concepts, and so you're expanding this program. Are
Mhm.
you also expanding it to help teachers at schools? Can you tell us a little bit about your teacher program? And I think you were talking about licensing and what that might look like.
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm really excited about it too. So we're my virtual assistant and I, who's been with me for 2 years now, and really helping me to do this faster, or else I would not be where I am. Because to write 400 songs to perfection, then video them, then make the content and the worksheets and the games and the assessments and all of that by myself would be a nightmare.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Been
So
there.
the help that I'm having, that help, and her knowing the systems now, knowing how to upload the songs to like ASCAP for royalties and all those details she knows now is like a lifesaver. So that being one, she's actually doing right now as we speak, she's changing the model for teachers for me, and we're talking teacher language more, right? So you can't give what homeschoolers their homeschool speak to teachers. Teachers have a different model of how they teach. However, they do not have a music program like mine. So I wanted to offer that as a beta for to see how it goes. So right now we're working on the systems. We literally duplicated the program, changed things around, and we're offering licensing, which I didn't think about until somebody emailed me as a teacher and said, "Do you license?" And I was like, "No, maybe I should." So, you know, when you're still trying to complete something, you're not thinking licensing, but now that I'm in prefixes and suffix, I can license this to preschools, to reading specialists at the younger ages, and it will be useful. It will be
Absolutely.
very useful. So, it's happening, and we're calling it Learn to Read with Music for Educators. And we're trying to make it comprehensive, but we're also opening it up to feedback. It's going to be a lower price, right? Opening it up to feedback, meaning like, do you need the worksheets? Do you need these things? What do you need? Right? And really, the songs are going to be the main thing, because if they have a song to help teach their lesson, they don't have to think.
Yes.
They don't have to think as much.
Yes.
Preschools won't have to think at all. Preschools won't have to think at all. This would be a benefit to a preschool to have this program, because they're literally, this works for children, Montessori children, to have songs that speak to children and to give a multisensory experience is like gold. So I'm excited
Uh-huh.
about it. I'm excited. But as you know, as a small business person, everything takes time. So I'm setting up
Yes.
the systems now as we speak. And I had plans last year to have it all ready by January 2026. Ha ha, how funny am I? But it's coming. It's coming.
Absolutely. I think the fact
So,
that, you're still working on it, you're very engaged with it, it is coming, and a lot of times it
mhm,
happens in God's timing and not ours, so we have to remember that.
yep. Yes. Amen to that. Amen. It's all about
Yes,
growth and how can I help more?
right, right.
Can I help?
Uh,
How can I be of
Yes.
service? I'm not perfect. I don't want to be
So,
perfect. I want to be
right.
useful.
Right. So, and on that note, I just looked up a grant. There's for like the micro school people out there, there is a grant for literacy, and it's a $10,000
Yes.
grant that will help to support reading for helping teachers and then helping parents to teach their children to read, helping adults to read, because let's be honest, we could all be better at phonics. And
Yes.
that is I mean, $10,000 grant, that's huge. And there's also a $3,000 grant that is for summer reading. So if somebody would,
Mhm.
think about how they could even, maybe they don't have the funds, or maybe they're like, okay, my school doesn't really support me to do this. They could always go
Mhm.
after a grant and say, hey, if we get this grant, then we can get this program. And that'll solve the financial challenge
Yes.
that a lot of us have with, getting some of these better programs, which is great. So that's
Yes.
something that we can definitely help support, either micro schools, regular schools,
Yes.
programs, nonprofits, all the things. So I would say, like, as we're closing up, because it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. What would you say would be like an encouragement that you would give parents who are maybe feeling worried or, overwhelmed about their child's reading progress? Because I know a lot of parents are like, oh my gosh, I just don't know what to do. And it's just it's just too much. It's over my head. I'm not a teacher, but like I'm homeschooling because I don't want to put my kids in school because of, whatever the reasons are. And so how would you maybe encourage them a little bit?
Okay, here's my best encouragement. This is what I want any parent who feels like it's very hard for them to teach their children how to read. They're not doing anything wrong. Reading is it's like progress isn't linear. They need to know that first. Progress isn't linear. Backslides happen, and sometimes listening counts as learning. So when they're having a hard day, your read aloud will do the job enough for that day. And they need to understand maybe how the brain learns a little better. And once they understand that, they won't judge themselves as much. You know what I mean?
It takes the pressure
So
off of the
just
parent.
yes. And also, it never hurts to join a community. I have a Reading Rocks with Music community that goes along with my program for homeschooling parents. I'm there to support them, to listen to their questions. I can meet with them live if they want to show up. It's very new, but that is something I think that's going to take off down the road for homeschooling parents because everybody needs help, especially
Absolutely.
nowadays with parents just because of the school systems being so difficult. They don't have teaching degrees. They don't have teaching degrees and need support. And reading is one of the most foundational ones. So I created that group for parents who just need a little positivity from Miss Kim, who can guide and shape and help and tailor it to their child. They can show up to the meetings and ask their personal questions and get them answered. So that's encouragement enough right there. That's encouragement
Absolutely.
enough. Having somebody on your team, on your side, trying to make a difference and helping you out. Like you won't feel so alone because a lot of moms feel alone. Don't you feel it? Like
Oh, yeah.
they feel alone in the journey, but you're
Yes.
being supported by the bigger God, right? We just sometimes don't feel it, like right. Sometimes you don't
Uh-huh.
feel it when you're in the fray, but you're being supported by God for being a parent in general. But sometimes you
100%.
need that human connection and human contact, and I want to be that for people as well. So
That's
I
awesome.
encourage all parents to reach out and ask for help, and not just on Facebook, not on Facebook, real connection like you and I are having right now, eye to eye. I see you.
Yes. Yes.
It's important.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so speaking of not on Facebook, where is the best place for parents to find you, to find your program? I know you are on Facebook, and I will have all the links in the show notes, but where would you say the best place is to find you?
It's really just www.learntoreadwithmusic.com. They can find me on social media on all the channels except X. I'm not on X, and my assistants are on TikTok, but I don't have a TikTok account. I just don't have patience for it. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, probably even LinkedIn. Again, I can only do so much, but they can contact me and join my Reading Rocks with Music community, which is free. They can come on there and just learn from some of my free courses and just listen in and see if, to get to know me a little better. So I would say learntoreadwithmusic.com and any social media if they need to contact me personally.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim, so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know our listeners have so much that they can learn from you. So hopefully they can check you out and everything that she mentioned. All those links we'll have in the show notes below so you can connect with her as well. All right, everyone. Happy homeschooling. We'll see you next time.